everyone. This is update for July 25, 2022, day 152 of the war, end of the date update. So we discussed this attacks by victorious Spartz against Andrei Yermak, and so today there was first casualty or result of that attack. A person named Demchenko was fired. He's a deputy of a head of Ukraine Security and Defense Council. So it's pretty important organization, or it's believed to be important. And he was also seems to be advisor to Ukrainian president. So he was also alleged of connections with Russia, specifically in 2010, he was cheerleading and sort of lobbying on Russian behalf, signing agreement with Russia under which Russia can have its military base in Crimea, and then that base later was used as a sort of source of attack to capture Crimea from Ukraine in 2014. So and then he basically worked for Yanukovych government all the time, so he was pretty closely wired into that system. He's definitely lower ranking, kind of like a person in this whole network that we discussed last times. But so it looks like this is the strategy by Ukrainian president, is basically give up sort of lower ranking figures so he can keep Andrei Yermak working for him. So in a way, it looks like a helicopter, throwing off those flares so that the rocket goes in the wrong direction. So far, again, basically what this really means that Ukrainian president managed to evade victorious Spartz attack. He had to kind of give up low-ranking figure in his team, but he managed to keep the sort of high-ranking figure in his team. So this is the sort of latest development on this whole fight scandal, whatever. We also observed there is a lot of opportunists, let's say outside of Ukraine, who really, the way they try to use this scandal is to blame that Ukraine does not deserve any help from the West, and that's obviously wrong. This is what the Russian propaganda wants to sort of project in the Western world, because the difference is it's not about she's attacking the person who she believes is not right person in Ukrainian government. It's Ukrainian government are totally different things, and it's about citizens of Ukraine, right? So this is a huge difference between the idea that Russian propaganda is trying to project into the world. Okay, Ukraine is corrupt, therefore don't help Ukraine. Well, that's in many ways not the case. It's about helping Ukrainian people who are fighting for their right for self-determination, right? So that's a huge difference between the two approaches, and it's very clever manipulation by Russia propaganda. Nevertheless, many politicians in the West fall for that. Now let's actually move to the next topic, and actually military aid that Ukraine is getting. So Ukraine got today 3 Gepards from Germany. We reviewed them sometime in early May, so you can try to go and see. They're decent equipment, but this is obviously old equipment, and it's as one of the viewers noted, a therapeutic quantity. So it's definitely not a sort of wonder weapon or Wunderwaffe in German. So it's definitely going to help somewhat Ukrainian forces, but 3 units are not going to make huge difference. Not to mention that the most important part of it is actually its radar that allows to get informed of the impending Russian airstrikes. So that's the biggest sort of asset of this machine, because while the guns are sort of capable, but they are designed essentially from having in mind kind of like World War II, how the airplanes were in World War II, not really how the airplanes are in modern days. However, Ukraine and then also Ukraine gonna get, believe, 27 more of this, so the total number will be about 30. Then let's actually switch to a more capable, much more important piece of equipment that Ukraine got from the UK. That's this Stormer. And the importance of this is that it actually has anti-air missiles, and it has radar. So this actually covers 18 kilometers. So of the airspace. So this allows really actually execute attacks and offensive by Ukrainian troops. So now they have some kind of coverage. It's not perfect coverage because it's not really truly long distance, but at least 18 kilometers. It really means that no Russian attack helicopter can approach, and most of their Russian tactical bombers will be also kind of stay away. So essentially, this gives pretty good protection for Ukrainian troops on the ground if they decide to do attacks. Again, it's only 6 of those right now in Ukraine. There are more coming for sure. So this is just call it the beginning, and this pieces of equipment are actually really something that would be helpful for Ukrainian forces to be able to switch from the tactics of rigid defense to tactic of either active defense or even offensive tactic. In addition, Ukraine is getting I think it's called in Polish PT-91 tanks. This is really Soviet T-72 tank, modernized T-72 tank, was modernized in the mid-90s. So it's a pretty decent tank. Ukraine is apparently is getting a couple hundred of those from Poland, and it's not clear. Some of them may have been already delivered. So it looks like it's on top of the prior delivery when Poland just gave Ukraine, call it unmodernized T-72. Let's just call it T-72 so everybody understands. So that's what that's what Ukraine is getting. So that's definitely helpful. We even though based on the sort of feedback from the Ukrainian crews, they actually prefer T-64 over T-72. They're basically very similar machines. It's just different sort of engineering bureaus worked on them. So T-72 was designed in Urals near Yekaterinburg. We showed that a long time ago, where there is I think it's called Ralvagon Zavod. Basically, it's a major Russian tank building factory. And then Ukraine T-64 was designed in Kharkiv. But that plant is essentially destroyed and not really capable of producing at this time anything. So this is a quick update on the sort of arm military aid that Ukraine getting. Now, actually, let's discuss a little bit economy. As always, we totally love discussing energy, economy, food here, because those things really driving livelihood of every person on this planet really matter, really touch everyone's life. So first thing is there is I'm pretty sure everybody's aware, there is a natural gas crisis going on in Europe, where the Russia is starting from July 27 is essentially stopping sending pumping natural gas through Nord Stream 1 just to make sure Nord Stream 2 has been stopped. Nothing is going on there. We're talking about Nord Stream 1. Nord Stream 1 was designed to the throughput was to be 50 billion cubic meters per year. So now the throughput since July 27 will be dropped to 33 million cubic meters per, let's say, day or 24-hour period. So that's a small fraction. That's I don't know what's a daily one if we convert, but it's really about like 20 to 15% of its capacity. So it's essentially the flow of natural gas is essentially stopping to Europe. That's causing the natural gas prices going, all as high as 1900 dollars per thousand cubic meters. That in sort of as result is causing a lot of production curtailing and specifically like closures of the German companies. So there are statistics that 16% of German manufacturing companies reported drop in production due to high energy prices, and in in the industries that are heavy consumers of energy, that drop is actually 32%. So as you can see, this is obviously significantly affecting German economy, and that's why you have seen euro is going down to 1 to US dollar. It bounced a little bit because the German government announced that they probably gonna reopen uh, uh, basically coal power generation, and I don't know if they're gonna reopen coal mines. So that provides relatively cheap energy, and it's produced in Germany, or it's going to be imported from other places in the world, but it's definitely cheaper than natural gas. We actually gonna do as promised at some point, probably this week, maybe the following week, review of what's going on in the sort of energy wise, because there is a sort of a lot of speculation who is to blame in all of this, who is sort of the root cause of the problem, where it's coming, and most important, where the solution to this problem basically. So we'll try to make that video in some point over the next 2 weeks. Then let's actually go to the Russian economy. And Russian large corporations are actively switching to China to borrow for borrowing, essentially. So the first one just came out was Rusal. This is a Russian aluminium producer. It's probably one of the largest aluminium producers in the world, and definitely the most the most like cheapest, right? The cost of production is probably one of the lowest in the world. So they issuing 5-year bond in China in Chinese yuan at a 5% coupon, which is definitely not terrible given the whole situation. We don't know what the yield is going to be. This is just apparently this is just announced deal. So the final kind of take of the market will find out. But as you can see, Russia is also sort of finding solution for the cut off from the Western financial markets as well. So they just basically moving to China for the credit. And then actually there was also interesting information on the energy prices and the cost of production in US. It's $28 per barrel, so that the cost to produce oil is 20 on average, right? This is obviously not everywhere. Some places are cheaper. While in Russia, it's actually around $12, maybe at most $15 per barrel. So just to give you you can compare the competitiveness of both countries in terms of crude oil production. Then very actually let's discuss Ukrainian Naftogaz. If you remember, we mentioned about this company. It's a monopolist in Ukraine in distribution natural gas. It was always it's a monopoly, artificially created monopoly, just to for corruption purposes, basically, in around 1999 2000 by Ukrainian president and government at that time. And then everybody's kind of like it's being passed from one government to another, and as a source of sort of all kind of corrupt dealings and schemes and so on. So that company, if you remember, it was asking foreign creditors to postpone payments on its foreign debt for 2 years, and the response from this private lenders was no. So if you remember, this is actually very important distinction here. Ukrainian government about like a week ago asked to postpone payments as well for 2 years on its debt, and it received yes from its lenders. And the difference is that those lenders are sovereigns, basically the state governments invest, and so they obviously supportive. So Ukrainian government got a break on repaying debts for 2 years, and this is, if you remember, called Paris Club. But then the situation, that's what we are expecting with the private lenders in the West is going to be much more different, right? They're not willing, they don't have deep pockets to lose money, so they don't give a break to Naftogaz, and probably they will not give a break to Ukrainian government either, because that's still in the works. So that's a quick update on that situation. And as we mentioned before, Ukrainian economy is really in horrific state of affairs, and the government sort of revenue collection or tax collection is dropping precipitously, and essentially there is virtually no economy left that's actually producing value add, with the exception of the agriculture, which seems to be going to be unblocked because of this agreement in Turkey. Now, then there's another, so like a curiosity news, or news from like kind of like Alice in Wonderland fairy tale. So the Russian prime minister assigned each minister in his cabinet to be responsible for some kind of area in high-tech industry. So just how insane it is. So there would be minister and some name XYZ. It's irrelevant, but Minister XYZ is going to be responsible for artificial intelligence, nanomaterials, and software development. this is truly like makes you laugh. Like honestly, that's just. And the other minister ABC is going to be responsible for biotech, and then minister whatever, another minister is going to be responsible for semiconductor manufacturing. So this is this just from the other planet. It's truly amazing. Just to kind of learn about that. Then another sort of more international topic. Let's actually look at the map. So this Russian occupied area called Transnistria, as you can see here. So the sort of Russian head of this occupational administration declared that they are planning to join Russia. So that's their plan. In the news about the occupational administration, so occupational administration in Russian occupational administration in Luhansk region, and then in the Donetsk region, and also in Kherson and Zaporizhia, they blocked Google. So I assume that YouTube and all of the services are blocked there and no longer working. And this is what they will probably try first in this sort of like in these areas, and then this might be rolled out in Russia at large. Remains to be seen. But while the Google Russia has sort of answer is Yandex, which is pretty decent search engine, but there is no really answer to YouTube, and YouTube has a lot of sort of important information useful for productive activities in the economy. It's not just entertainment, not just news, not just information. There is a lot of useful information there, and cutting it off would be probably somewhat suicidal. Definitely not going to help development of high-tech industries in Russia. Now let's actually jump to the walk through the front line. So things, or as a whole, as a general assessment, we haven't seen any like large successful attack by HIMARS system today. It's unclear if there is some viewers were speculating there is not enough ammunition or something like that. Totally possible. We don't know those details, but I'm pretty sure that the attacks will renew at some point. If not tomorrow, then day after tomorrow. It's a given. Let's put this way. Then let's actually look what's going on. We're going to start as always in a clockwise fashion, starting from the very north. So let's first look at the situation along the state border. Things here somewhat quieter, not perfect, but definitely the intensity went down somewhat. Now let's move to Kharkiv area. Here Russian troops actually did launch a small-scale attack in the typical area here around this village here, Demchenko. We don't see it's too small, but the point of attack is kind of like directing basically towards Kharkiv. Situation there is stable. It's again very small-scale attacks. This is nothing really major here. Now let's move. Let's see what's going on Izyum bridgehead. Things here is essentially more or less the same. Some skirmishes near Bohorodechne, but essentially it's quiet here overall as assessment. Quiet in terms of there is no attacks. That's what we mean. Not quiet in terms of artillery fire, airstrikes. All of that is happening. It's sort of normal course of affairs. Now let's move to the North Donbass front line. Things here are still active. Russian troops are actively trying to sort of move and to make progress. So they attacked here in this area, then towards Berestove. The most sort of, let's say, strong attack was towards Pokrovsky. If you remember, Ukrainian troops hold northern part of Pokrovsky. The southern was captured by Russian troops. So the goal obviously to completely squeeze out Ukrainian troops from this village Pokrovsky, because then you can kind of attack towards Bakhmut from there and towards Bakhmutske and Soledar. So basically kind of like opens up sort of opportunities from here. So there was pretty strong attack there. The front line still held, but this is definitely sort of focus for the Russian command there. Now let's actually move a little bit south, and things here are not going as well for Ukrainian troops. So the Russian, we mentioned this yesterday, that seems like the Russian troops made some progress in this area near power plant here and Novolugansk. So essentially what's going on, this bottleneck has become really minimal at this point. Here there's just one road for retreat essentially left for Ukrainian troops, and it's also under fire, mortar, artillery fire, all kind of even tank fire. So it's basically sort of kind of like a corridor of fire essentially left to leave this whole area. So it does look to us that this area is kind of like is basically Ukrainian defenses here are essentially collapsing, and Ukrainian troops probably are gonna withdraw to Semihirya, if not tomorrow, which is going to be 26, then on 27. But it's definitely they lost key positions here, and the most important, this supply, this bottleneck has become nearly impossible to use. So you can't really resupply troops, and it really leads to sort of like forced withdrawal, even without maybe a lot of fight, just because there is essentially a threat of complete cutoff here. Now let's move south. Let's see what's going on west of Donetsk. Things here are quiet, just exchange of fire on both sides. Now let's quickly jump and let's look what's going on Zaporizhia. It's identical to what's going on west of Donetsk. Everything's kind of like positional defenses here. Now let's jump to Kherson bridgehead, where things are active, but they're sort of like both sides are keeping sort of their mouths very shut. So it's really not much information. All we understand what's going on is that Ukrainian troops, and specifically it looks like it's 28th Brigade, might be also being held by other brigades that are here. We don't know, but at least 28th. They trying to break out, sort of repeat what they did. I think it was early June or end of May. So basically, break out and basically follow the road that goes towards Nova Kakhovka here, Berislav, Nova Kakhovka. So that's seemed like what they're trying to do, but so far it doesn't look like it's being this attempt is successful. And also, what we are learning that Russian troops put a pontoon bridge here over this river. It's called Inhulets. If you remember, the original bridge was severely damaged, so Russian troops Russian command put a pontoon bridge here. So it does look like Russian command is doubling down here. There are also there were spotted columns of troops going through Melitopol towards Kherson bridgehead. So it seems that Russian command is decided to sort of take a stand and sort of keep this area at all costs. So we'll see what happens here, because maybe this specific attempt near Davidiv Bridge is not going to be successful, but regardless, Ukrainian troops will continue attacks on these bridges, and it eventually, sooner or later, this will lead to collapse of Russian defenses on the Kherson bridgehead. If obviously Ukrainian troops command is persistent and continues what it started so far. So as we discussed, it might be the death by thousand cuts, similar to what happened west and east of Kyiv. But remains to be seen, and it's not going to be fast. It's another thing. It's not going to be like, oh, in a week this whole area will be liberated. That's probably not going to happen, given that the Russian command is trying to hold this area at all costs. So it may take a while before the Russian defenses collapse in this area. Again, thanks for watching, and until tomorrow. Bye bye.